Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello. Welcome everyone. This is Life List, a birding podcast. I am George Armistead here with my co-hosts Alvaro Jaramillo and Molly Brown. What is happening, guys? How you doing?
Hello.
Hey, doing great?
Keeping busy?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm between bouts of travel again. So
She's back. She's
Yeah.
back in action.
Office busy.
The summer of Molly is over. Now it's busy Molly.
Yeah, it kind of feels like it. New era.
New era.
Nice.
Alvaro, I think you're right in the middle of your oceanic era.
My oceanic period is happening right now, which is actually, weirdly enough, it's actually called that in the seasonal, like the ocean seasons here in California. This is called the oceanic period. It's funny. We have the upwelling period, the oceanic period, and then we have the Davidson current period. So that's like the 3 seasons out in the ocean. So yes, I'm thick into it because this is when we have all of the food and all of the stuff around, and that's why I'm tired and my voice is like because I've been doing 2 pelagics.
He's got that
back to back.
Gravelly pelagic voice.
He's got that ocean voice. There's salt in those lungs.
Are you just sleeping on the boat in between those, or how does that work?
No, no, I come home. Yeah, but yeah, I don't think I've never asked, but you sleep on the boat.
They might not know. Are you the last to leave and the first to show up?
No, the crew
Okay.
is. So yeah, no, it's not me. But yeah, it's very good out there, though.
Nice.
We can talk about it later if you'd like.
Yeah, I think we should. But I think in the meantime, we should get to introducing our guest, who we've been looking to get on this pod for a long time. Really thrilled to have him with us today. Phil Chaon is with us. Phil, who has an incredible amount of experience studying birds and habitats all over the world, has a forthcoming book that is, I think, can be pre-ordered now, Habitats of North America. Also co-authored Habitats of the World, and has been guiding for years, has done a ton of field work, including in places such as the redwoods of Northern California. He studied fairy wrens in Papua New Guinea. He's surveyed bird communities in coffee farms in Kenya, currently living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Phil, how are you doing today? So good to have you here.
Yeah, really good to be here. It feels kind of like I'm still in sort of a fever dreamy state, so it's good to have you all with me. I've been running pretty hard for the past month and a half. Like drove around Australia for 10 days and then worked on a ship for 26 days and then flew 41 hours home, went camping with some friends, got in the car, drove 23 hours to Michigan. And so now I'm talking to you from just outside Kalamazoo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I thought you were home.
Kalamazoo.
I thought I was going to be home too, but
Wow, that is a whirlwind.
This is going to be a great interview.
yeah,
It's going to be real Phil.
Yeah.
Vintage Phil. Yeah. Well, I was following your trip for the last month or so with interest. A bunch of areas that I've been to Darwin, Australia, which is, I guess, where your cruise began, and but that was a long time ago. And apart from that, once you headed north, that was a bunch of areas I'm really not very familiar with. Maybe give folks the quick and dirty on the route that you took from Darwin.
Yeah. It was 2 trips together. It was like real general natural history, which was good. It was nice to kind of travel and experience things besides like just birding dawn till dusk. Good in helping me work on letting go and just kind of sailing past some lifers. But I went from Darwin out to the Kimberley region of northwestern Australia, which is pretty roadless, just giant limestone or sandstone massif that kind of drops off into the ocean. It's got crazy tides, like 35-foot tides during
Oh,
this
wow.
time of year. There's just these huge reefs that'll be exposed, like 100 square miles of land that'll just pop up during low tide and then disappear again. So we went around there for about a week, saw some really cool old rock art, and snuck in some birds and lots of crocodiles. It's one of those things where you're like next to this beautiful blue water and you can't go in it because it's full of saltwater crocodiles, and had to keep
Yes.
yelling at people, like,
You see some big saltwater crocs?
we saw one pretty large one, a lot of small ones, but yeah, one probably 12 foot, something like that, kept following one of our little zodiacs around, like the one that was waiting to do shuttles off the beach. He'd move away and he'd swim up alongside it, and was just kind of, I think, keeping an eye on things.
12 feet.
Then, yeah.
That's the width of the room I'm in. I'm just looking from wall to wall right now.
Yeah, it was a big trip for big reptiles. We had to backtrack to Darwin to clear customs, and then just kind of did a speed run through the Lesser Sundas in Indonesia. So kind of a day in Timor, a day on Sumba, a day on Komodo. Or finally got to get in the water, hang out with some Komodo dragons, do some snorkeling. The reefs there are still pretty intact and pretty amazing. Yeah, ended up in Bali, and then did another leg from Bali all the way up to Singapore, mostly through Java.
Wow.
It was, yeah, just like a real cool spectrum gradient kaleidoscope of habitats and humanity and art. Fish, a lot of fish.
So is this like a regular cruise ship where you're kind of on the boat for a bit, you get off at a port for a few days, that sort of situation?
Yeah, it's Lindblad National Geographic, so it's like small expedition cruises. I think there are about 75 guests on board for that leg. And we've got little zodiacs, so we'll just do like little boat runs to shore, go hiking for a couple hours, go back to the ship, have lunch.
That's the food.
Pretty excellent. We've got a couple of good chefs on board. People hop off every time we're in a port and like run out to the market and get some fresh fruit and some fresh fish. And the person doing all the purchasing I made friends with pretty early on, and so I always got like a big bag of mangosteen or snake fruit, or like some of the kind of Southeast Asian fruits that I can't get anywhere else that I really look forward to.
Do you have a fruit list?
I don't have a fruit. I've got it up here, but there were a lot of kind of unnamed fruits that I tried when I was living in Papua New Guinea that didn't make it on the list, and those are the real blocker berries, that would keep me above a lot of people on fruit listing. But
Yeah. I guess it's really dangerous fruit listing, because if you really get into it, you could start just randomly tasting fruits all over the world and probably wind up in the hospital, in time. So yeah, I don't think we should really promote this, Phil. Should we? Fruit listing? I don't know.
more for me.
Good way to get your fiber. Yeah.
And I've always wanted to have a big monument somewhere to all the early people that figured out what was good to eat and what wasn't, because I really appreciate them a lot. It's
Yeah.
not a job that I'd want to do.
I had a friend who always said, just, if you're in a place that's got a lot of, well, it was in Africa where there's like, orang, I'm not, I mean, sort of like chimpanzee type places, and where things that humans might be able to eat that chimps eat and so forth, and avoid anything red. At that point, he thought was good. Like you could eat any fruit that was blue, or yeah, he had these rules, and I was like, I'm not sure I'd buy that, like I wouldn't, maybe I'd see what a chip would eat and go, yeah, maybe I'll try that. We'd probably have a similar digestive system, but
Their gut
even
flora is
having,
probably a little more evolved in some ways, but
yeah, I don't know, because if you have a dog, you're not supposed to feed him grapes, right?
yeah.
And it's like, what how can that be? Like we're both mammals, so yet a grape is like really awful for a dog. I don't know. So I don't know. Fruit listing. I like this. What else could
Fruit.
we list?
Phil, have you tried pawpaw yet?
Once. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
getting to be pawpaw season
it's
here, so
almost
I'm
getting, yeah.
starting to think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always been a little bit too far north. Like Cleveland is just like right on the very edge of the pawpaw belt. Pawpaw is actually a pretty good like indicator for like that. I feel like that transition between right, like the kind of southern
Hmm.
deciduous forest stuff, and then the like more mixed temperate, like hemlocky
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Right, it's like pawpaws, and then like Carolina black-capped chickadee feel like really good. Like
Yeah.
just like
North
bam,
south.
bam, yeah, you're out of it. And even down to like the micro habitats where you get like that like high ridge that has black caps kind of following it in, and then like low warmer valleys that have
That
yeah,
sure tracks
Hmm.
here.
yeah, yeah. West Virginia is a really cool. It's cool to have places in the east where elevation actually has an effect on
Hmm.
habitat as opposed to
I sure like it. I'll tell you what, one of the most challenging participants that I had on a birding tour, I won't get any more specific in that. I won't say where we were or anything,
Sounds
but they
juicy though.
put everything in their mouths and tried everything as we were just walking along any sort of path and drove me crazy. Don't do that if you're a participant on a tour. You're just going to make your guides nervous.
Just eating random stuff, like,
Oh my
just
gosh, yes.
leaves or
Yes, and not things that they were able to identify. This wasn't someone who was in an area they were familiar with and knew what they were doing. They were just really excited. So I am not a fan of
what?
fruit listing.
What? I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
I
weird.
don't- it was. Yeah. Yep.
Is so they'd like be
popular
dip
fire.
netting in a pelagic?
Gosh. Yeah. Who knows what you'd catch on the pelagics?
Yeah. God, that's weird.
It was weird.
How old
Yeah.
were they? Like how long had they survived with this behavior?
They were retirement age. Um,
Huh.
they had made it this far, but they had a lot of stories to tell of a
Being at the
rocky journey to
hospital?
get there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those like warning signs where like choking hazard, do not give to children under 3, or Greg, like
Yes. Exactly.
That's weird. I've never actually
Yeah.
heard of that. I've heard of a lot of different, you know, birder slash client behaviors, but that's a good one,
Oh.
Nicely done, Alvaro.
Speaking of
Mhm.
things you shouldn't eat.
yeah.
Alvaro just changed his background imagery to a big Necco wafer banner. Wow, I can see the orange one and the chocolate one. That's making me really. It's really making the mouth water there.
It's really
One of
the
those
most
is chocolate.
edible form of chalk that you can buy.
As chalk goes, it's incredibly flavorful.
Mhm.
That was upsetting. I'm gonna go back to what I had before.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my tomato pie background. I think it's oddly making me a little hungry, which is yeah,
What doesn't?
yeah, it's fair point. Yeah. Phil, I got to ask you about regarding your recent journey. You did not get in the water with the saltwater crocs, but I read a book. It was called Last Chance to Sea. Came out, I don't know, like 20 plus years ago by Mark Carwardine and somebody else I'm forgetting the name of. And they talk about going to places where you can see sort of a number of animals that maybe are only in a certain spot anymore, or maybe even just very few left of them. And they had a chapter on going to see Komodo dragons, which are confined to Komodo and what, just a couple other islands.
Yeah, a couple other small islands between Komodo and Flores.
Probably some folks that are listening may not even know what these animals are, but if you can picture a monitor lizard, this is the largest one and indeed the largest living lizard today. And they've got some pretty amazing bacteria living in their saliva, I gather. Don't know from personal experience, happy to say. But like, I just would imagine walking around. Like, I remember seeing my first big, like, monitor in Australia, getting out of like a bus. And,
The monitor was getting out of a bus?
I was getting out of the bus and
Oh,
I
okay.
saw this monitor and I was like, everybody back on the bus. And like my driver's like, it's a monitor, dude. It's like, they're always here. It's not that big a deal. And I was like, yeah, it's huge, it's terrifying. And I just react poorly to large reptiles in general. But I can't imagine comfortably walking around a huge monitor, especially knowing that they have like crazy bacteria in there and that they're predators. So what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's debate now, even whether or not it goes beyond bacteria and it's actually there's some form of venom going on. There's a lot of cool biochemical stuff happening. Yeah, I've seen big monitors, like 7 foot Asian water monitor that's just been snacking on rats and cats in Bangkok, or like crocodile monitor, which is the second largest and is in New Guinea. The thing that really struck me about these is the heft. Like they're done. I don't know if I could tell, like just looking, the difference between an 8 foot monitor and a 9 foot monitor, but just like the arms on this thing and the way the belly drags, and they're just
They look heavy.
yeah, yeah, they're real lumbering, kind of slow most of the time, unless they're not slow. And you're just walking around the forest, and a ranger goes with you. It's a national park, and the ranger's got, it's like in Africa when you're walking around and there's big game and you're going with a ranger who's got a big rifle. It's similar, except this guy's got about a 3 foot long twig with a little fork on the end of it, and that's kind of the dragon stick. I guess the idea is you could get the head between the little fork and kind of push them away if they come too close.
I don't know.
But no, I don't know. They never seemed that interested in me, which
Yeah,
hurt a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, you took that personally.
It's good to be around. Yeah. Good to be around with people that want to have a chat, because like they would just kind of walk by doing their thing. If another dragon was around, they'd chase it off. Chased a lot of chickens. There were a bunch of like green jungle fowl around that they kept trying to catch.
And don't they take goats?
They used to feed them goats.
Okay.
They take deer. They take Timor deer, was like kind of their original prey, which is like it's like a little sambar deer kind of, or like it almost looks like a really small elk. They've got that kind of shaggy
small elk.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big animal. You're talking about a big mammal, like a 9 foot lizard that eats mammals that are reasonably large. Like I've always thought I would find that unsettling, just walking around these things on the ground. It's just, I can't imagine. I want to do it. Like, I just I like kind of having that little bit of, edge of fear at times when you're out in nature. And I just, I don't know. I can't imagine this experience.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's a good instinct to have, right? Like I think I would stick with George in like during a horror movie, like serial killer type situation. George is the like
Yeah.
strong nope instinct, and
I am not going into that old barn.
uh-uh.
I'm not going up those steps. I'm not going into that garage. You don't have to worry.
Even if there's a Komodo dragon, or especially if there's a Komodo dragon.
Yeah. Might go towards, not in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How
I don't
about
know.
if there were dragons and monkeys around, George? What would you do?
You see, monkeys don't bother me so much. It's the baboons that I really abhor.
Well, I mean, they're kind of monkey.
Yeah. But I mean, like, as we've talked about, and Phil and Molly both know this from our travels to Uganda. I do not care for those olive baboons. I've had a couple. I think I told, maybe I'll just tell this story real quick, but I had an experience with olive baboons in Ethiopia where actually, yeah, and like we were kind of at a lodge where everybody didn't sleep real well the night before. In fact, the baboons had gotten into somebody's room that they'd had some like, you know, granola bar stashed away, and they were kind of like fending the baboons off during dinner time with like these big poles, trying to run them off from stealing food. And so it was a little unsettling. They got into somebody's room, busted up a suitcase, got the granola bars, made a mess. Everybody was kind of a little on edge after that. We slept through the night, get up at breakfast. There's like a long table. Ethiopia is kind of where coffee comes from originally, and you're sipping some nice Ethiopian coffee, and I'm at the head of this long table, and people are gradually filtering in. And one of the ladies, actually, it was the lady whose cabin had been broken into by the baboons. She's sitting down and starting to sip, and then just as I realized that, like, reaching onto the table for a piece of bread is this really green, hairy arm, and I'm sitting there like holding my cup of coffee, and I'm like about to point and be like, there's a baboon, and she just lets loose with this blood curdling scream because it's right next to her, and and the baboon at that point, like, projectile poops behind it, grabs like three pieces of bread and runs off, and I've like, all of this happens while I'm like pointing and holding my cup of coffee, barely having moved, and everyone's just like, it was a startling experience. And that was like day 3 of Ethiopia. We had multiple other close encounters with baboons. My wife Kristen would love to tell her story of running off a baboon fairly recently. So anyway, I don't like them. They got nasty attitude. But I'd probably rather deal with one of them than with a Komodo dragon.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty definitive division between like good monkey, bad monkey, right? I mean, because like good monkeys are really good, and bad monkeys are really like most macaques, bad monkey right away.
Yes. Yep.
Most
Exactly.
capuchins, like bad monkey. Like there's
Yeah. At least they're cute. A lot of the capuchins are cute. I wouldn't say that about any of the macaques or the baboons, really.
yeah, I don't know. I really do like I like a Hamadryas baboon. I like a Galata. Like there's some
Yeah,
good
but
ones.
gelatas, I think, are in a different family now. I think they've moved.
They're not. Oh,
I think they moved them out of the baboons, if I remember right. But those are cool. I totally agree. Those are amazing animals.
Are
Yeah.
are baboons a family?
Well, let me look at gelatos
I
real
don't know
quick. I'm pretty sure
what
that
kind of taxon
I think
groups.
they're no longer. I think they're no longer considered baboons. I
I
should
used
say.
to get, when I was doing some field research in West Africa, there were monkeys that would throw feces at me from the trees. They were actually really good looking monkeys, like colobus and Mona monkeys and stuff, like really awesome looking. But I just found that not very polite. And I did not like it. So, but I was happy to be in the throw zone, because I wanted to see these animals, but I did not. Yet I'm not sure if I'd class them as good monkey, bad monkey. I mean, I think this is sort of like, real. This is a different kind of behavior. It's you know kind of funny monkey. But if the right person gets hit next to you, it's really funny. If you get hit, not so funny. So I don't know. I I don't know what I think about good monkey, bad monkey.
Those howler monkeys have pretty good aim when it comes to the poop.
I'm thinking
Yeah.
about how many more teeth I've seen on monkeys in the old world than monkeys in the new world. That's just my experience, but that is a factor when I'm
Big old fangs
categorizing.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gelatos, by the way, different genus. Most baboons. Yes, and all the other baboons are papios. They appear to be each other's closest relatives in terms of the genus. But yeah, anyway, they're in the same tribe. But really different.
Weird.
Too.
It's like I think it's either drill or mandrill that are like completely unrelated to baboons, and they're like just like a Godzilla vervet monkey or something like that. I can't remember.
That would be something to see.
Yeah. Gabon
Mandrillus.
2028.
That's right. There you go.
Yeah.
Gabon 2028. We're gonna go get it.
Phil, before I forget, do you have eBird trip reports or report from your cruise?
Ooh, I do. It was fairly light. I was being pretty lazy. It was not a lot of birding when I got to Indonesia. The week I spent running around beforehand, I had a good time and saw a lot of birds. That was like Southwest Australia, drive 2,000 miles in five or 6 days, and
Oh wow.
go kind of chase
yeah.
everything down and see some echidnas and some numbats and quail thrushes. Really trying to get all the quail thrushes.
I still need that family.
It's one of the best.
Is this the same trip that Santiago Imberti was on? Because I saw him post photos of Komodo dragons just like a few weeks ago. So
yeah, he did the same route right before I got on. So I think he got off in Darwin, and then I got on. I was the replacement bird guy.
Okay. You're the new Santiago.
With Santiago and Mike Greenfelder were both on that one.
Okay. Wow. It's like a route then. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. It's rough being at sea that long in a place that has almost zero pelagic birds, but
I was gonna say, yeah.
Is there anything cool like, I don't know.
White terns?
No, I mean cooler than that, like more
that's
yeah, because those are really widespread. I mean, they're cool, but they're widespread, right? Like something more unique that you might see one, I don't know, something.
You've got
Abbott's booby or something.
You've got an outside chance of Abbott's booby. I didn't get it this time. I got it last time when we went through the Banda Sea, which was a little more interesting, a little more deep water. This was like a lot of streak shearwaters and Wilson storm petrel, and the occasional Bulwer's petrel.
Couple nice birds.
Yeah, no. Before I got on the ship, though, I did some sea watching from around Perth, and that was pretty cool. Like a little bit of a stormy day, and got to see a bunch of Indian yellow-nosed albatross and soft plumage petrel and great winged petrel. It's always fun seeing tube noses from shore.
Yeah.
You got to be in the real height of sooty shearwater season right now, right?
Here? Yeah. There's a lot. It's kind of everything season right now. It's a lot of stuff going on. So it's I don't know how many thousands of sooties we saw this weekend, but it wasn't in the hundreds of thousands, but that happens sometimes. But tens of thousands.
Wow. Awesome. Are you just seeing a constant stream go by? What's that look like?
Yeah, when you're in that sooty kind of movement zone, they're just going the whole time. You kind of cross the river, and then you'll see them in patches further outside. But usually there's one region where they'll be like all going through it,
it's
and
like
just
a ribbon, right?
Like a ribbon, yeah. And if you sat there, you could, I don't know how many you'd count over a day. it's crazy because it sometimes just doesn't stop. You come back after 10 hours or whatever, and they're still going in that same area, going the same direction. You're like, wow. Like it's like the closest thing to passenger pigeons we have, it's like it's out in the ocean. So most people never get to see it.
It's hard to fathom.
Yeah.
Well, Phil, I was going to say, if you have trip reports that you want to share, I'll link them as much to show your spots on the map as anything else. Because I think folks will like to see that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Cool. We'll add those to the show notes. Phil, I pulled up your eBird account just to look to where you've been in the world, which is a lot of places, and you've seen a lot of birds. Your life list on eBird says it's approaching 6,400. That's a lot of birds.
Yeah, it's been it's kept me busy. It's definitely getting to that like a little bit slower time, and like I've still got a few places that I've been saving just because I like I want to have one or two more of those trips where everything's new.
Yeah.
I haven't done Brazil at all yet, and that's like the big one where
this is what I wanted to ask you. I wanted to hear where you haven't been, where you want to go.
Yeah, everywhere, and go back to everywhere I've already been. I don't think there's really any place that I've birded yet that I don't want to spend more time in. Maybe UAE or Philadelphia, but like other than that,
Dubai and Philadelphia, you just skip those.
Yeah. No, and China's really high up on the list. Like a winter trip and then a summer trip. Kind of like if I could start in like February up north and then swing down to like Yunnan and then work my way up the Tibetan Plateau into late spring, that would be a really, really cool trip. There's a lot of places I just want to go now. Not as much for like a lot of Central Asia is. I'd love to kind of do some of the Silk Road big cities like Samarkand is really high up on the list. Like a little trip for Zarudni's sparrow or something like that. Just kind of a weird little side quests to places that people don't really go. Just to even if the bird's not the most exciting, like just the kind of the planning and that sort of phase of things.
Mm-hmm. It's really funny. Oh yeah. I've been on a Silk Road kick too. I've been reading non-birding books about that area. Uzbekistan is my current fascination. Which looks like the birding's pretty decent too. If you're going through the sands, I think it's a decent place to be, but culturally as well.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like a lot of kind of cool temperate. Because I feel like I've spent a lot of time birding tropical areas around the world, but I haven't really seen much in terms of other temperate zones. The only birding I've done in Europe was Sweden and Georgia in the middle of winter, like in January, February. So
Naturally Adventures has got a recent episode on the stands, Molly. And I forget which. It's I forget which one is the one that is sort of the stand that's the coolest for birds and culture, but they definitely ranked. They did a stand rank.
I listened to that, and I know they spend a lot of time in Kyrgyzstan. I think Uzbekistan is maybe a smaller chunk.
Kazakhstan as well.
Oh yeah, in Kazakhstan, yeah.
Uh-huh.
But
very nice.
I haven't watched that movie. That's next on my little research trip. Is
you should go to the stands first, then watch Borat to see if it's actually accurate at all.
Tell you what, I miss enough pop culture references without going out of my way to avoid those.
It's funny. So why were you in like Georgia in the middle of winter? Is that just sort of was this a punishment, or Sweden? You were middle of winter, like, did you have to go do community service or something over there, or what? I mean,
I knew Al was coming to this question. As soon as you said you were in those places in winter, he let loose with a chuckle, and I was like, he's winding up for one.
Yeah, it was an airline trap. Norwegian Air had a one-way flight from LAX to Stockholm for $220. And it was like one of these 10-hour, like right over the poles. And I had a friend that was doing a PhD in Uppsala. And so another birding friend from California and I decided to hop on a plane and go over there. And then we stayed there as long as we could stand the 4 hours of daylight. It made it really easy to bird and drink with people, right? Because you're like, start at 10 a.m., you're done, it's dark at 2:30, and you're like, all right, well.
A lot of aquavit.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was I think like a $40 flight from Stockholm to Tbilisi. It's like one of these things. You show up at 3
It's
in
a
the
deal
morning.
you just couldn't turn down, right?
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
No, it was a cool place in the winter. Like the number of wintering birds there was really pretty spectacular. I think maybe the most individual birds I've ever seen in my life was on that trip. Like
Geese or what was there?
Gulls.
Oh,
Like,
wow. Listen, so now you got his attention.
Close to 2 million black-headed gulls out on the Black Sea, and like I saw a group of 20,000 great crested grebes out there. Just in the eastern part, like huge flocks of calandra larks and mixed lark flocks. I found some of the first black larks in Georgia in like a decade or so.
You have 2 million black-headed gulls. Do you automatically go, oh crap, I bet there's a bony in here somewhere, and you just spend the entire day looking for a bony? Or is that not how your brain works? You move on to something different.
I was young enough that it wasn't like this was like a decade ago. I was like 23, 24, and I was more interested in trying to track down, like Armenian gull or Caspian gull, or there were a lot of nice, like real super pink slender-billed gulls out there. Like it was. I was trying to find a Eurasian woodcock. It was like a big thing, and never got there. I got out like there was some woman selling them on the side of the road. She had like these little strings of Eurasian woodcocks that somebody had shot.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They like pulled out a map and was like asking her where on the map they were. She pointed to this river, and drove out there, and there's a shipping container out on the edge of this swamp, and all of a sudden, like 10 guys in chest waders with guns pop out and like trying to show them the bird book and be like, are these out there? And they're pointing to our shoes and just saying, big problem, big problem. I'm like, okay. It's like, it's too swampy. And this guy, like asked my friend, he's like, what state are you from? He's like, California. His eyes light up and he goes, California, I love Tupac. And so like,
So I'm surprised that she's selling the woodcocks and she tells you where to get them, because you could have become her big competitor, selling woodcocks, like
trade
big,
secrets,
tall, guy with a red beard. Like you would have sold a lot of woodcocks if you had gotten good at get catching them and stuff. So I'm surprised she gave you her go-to spot for these, because that was her livelihood. That's amazing. You're a charmer, Phil.
Yeah, I think she could just read me pretty well and could tell that I'm like pretty lazy and not competitive, and I'd rather kind of open up a new thing. Like I was really going to hone in on the gull meat market, but abundant and
yeah. No, there's probably a market for that somewhere. It's like
again, going back to the fruits, I think we figured out like all the birds that are really good to eat a long time ago, and like anything kind of on the margins is like
Not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's being eaten because it's available, not so much because you're like, oh, you really have to try woodcock. It is.
I saw this funny video. It was an old British comedy thing. It was kind of a panel. So it was one of those shows, like, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. But they were talking. They would come up with a fact, and then these sort of comics would riff on this fact. And one of them was, I think, that the tortoises in Galapagos, it took them like hundreds of years to be actually described, to science. Like, people knew them and so on, but to get one in a museum and describe it to science took like hundreds of years. And then they said, basically, they're so good to eat. These sailors were eating them all over the place. Like, they never got back, to London, to put in the museum, because these guys would be eating them all. It's like they were gone. They're the tastiest thing in the world. And I thought it was so funny yet awful, right? Because that is exactly the issue with the tortoises that drove some of these populations to extinctions. We ate them all, and it was sort of when comedy does truly makes you see something that you're like, oh, that's awful, yet it was funny at the same time.
Yeah, just those moments where your evolutionary track is going really well, and then it turns out that you're actually just a giant, slow, delicious lump of meat, and suddenly
Right.
that doesn't work as well. Yeah.
Right. No, it's awful. Yeah. Would dodos also eaten? Is that why they
Oh
were
yeah.
killed to be eaten, right? Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
another one. Like, the dodo was, yeah, could have been
They were
just,
big. I think they were. I think they were very dense and very large, like upwards of
yeah,
40 pounds, something like that. I think.
right. Were they big enough that George would have been scared of them? Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's
So
not saying much, but
he doesn't
yeah,
like big stuff.
He's got tender ankles, and
that's
got a
yes,
good.
exactly.
They're at a
Yeah,
good bite.
yeah, and those things got a bill on them.
I feel bad for the reunion solitaire, like the sister to the dodo, because nobody knows that bird. Nobody cares because one's called Dodo and it's easy to remember.
Boy,
But
reunion solitaire. That's up there with greater peewee in terms of sort of oxymoron bird names.
yeah, the reunion solitaire. Never thought about it till now.
Yeah.
It's the jumbo shrimp.
Bill, I would like to know about your book that's coming out, the Habitats book. The now on this, I would say on the surface, it would be a pretty obvious thing what it is, but like, are there, as you're going through the habitats of North America, are there any particular ones you think that your average birder doesn't really think of enough, or doesn't appreciate perhaps, or that you just like a lot? I'd be curious. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on it, and I think it's coming out soon, right?
Yeah, I think it'll be out middle of January next year. So like about 4 or 5 months. Still doing a little bit of page proof stuff. I'm sure there will still be some typos that make it through that people will be gleeful to point out. People that like finding typos are always really happy to tell you about them.
Yeah, people that find typos, they're really cool people usually.
Yeah,
We need them though.
we do.
Mhm.
We do. We need them. So, yeah. Attention to detail. It's not. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's how it's delivered, right?
Yeah.
You're birding somewhere, somebody's chasing you down the trail. I really need to tell you this. It's like, but hey, we're just looking at some cool bird, but there's a typo on page 54 of your latest.
Will you sign it, please?
Sign it, please.
Sign it
Oh,
above the typo.
Yeah.
It's not mine. It's my friends. They lent it to me. I just, find the typos. I don't buy the book.
Yeah.
How
it was
many
funny.
habitats did you cover in it?
I think we did about about 85. So there was a little bit of disagreement stuff. It's everything. It's the Caribbean and then Mexico all the way north to the Arctic. It's habitats in North America because there were some disagreement about whether or not people would buy a book that said in the Arctic. Right? If it says North America, I would have liked to include Central America in there, but yeah. Anyway, it's like most like temperates to the edge of the tropics in the Western Hemisphere, the northwestern quadrant of the planet.
So obviously, you can go all the way down to some micro habitats, right? So how do you make, a division like you're talking about the Arctic, for example? Like there's multiple habitats even within the Arctic, sort of dry tundra or alpine tundra, wet tundra. But do you sort of make a call on summarizing and saying, okay, let's just talk about tundra as a thing? And how do you make that call? And was there a lot of discussion? Do you know of like what to include as a different habitat, or is it when it feels right kind to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main ideas were to include habitats, either that had a unique set of fauna, so it was more animal based, and even maybe not necessarily species endemic to it, but even if there's species that are particularly abundant in a certain habitat, or just kind of more unique assemblages of animals, and habitats that looked really distinctive and were kind of easily recognizable even without botanical training, right? Like, I mean, everyone would recognize bald cypress swamps as a pretty unique habitat visually, even though the set of animals that are in there are pretty much a combination of either other deciduous swamp forests or lowland kind of slow river systems. It's like a little matrix of forest and wetland habitats, but it's definitely like not something that you would leave out if you were talking about habitats in the Southeast, even if it doesn't necessarily have any endemic animals in it. But yeah, it was tough. There are a bunch of habitats that just kind of have like a number of sub-habitat headings under them. Like the tall grass prairie probably has 5 or 6 different things under that umbrella. We did split up tundras a good bit. I think there's 5 or 6 tundra types covered in the book.
And what kind of information is under each of these habitat types?
Yeah, it usually starts with, one of my favorite things is there's like a silhouette at the top that has a little person in there, and it kind of shows what they look like in the habitat and gives you an idea about tree height and density and that sort of thing. There's a climate graph that shows temperature and rainfall throughout the year, and then like a distribution map, and then it breaks down, kind of starts with a couple little summary things that have like in a nutshell, so like a 1 sentence about what makes this habitat distinctive, and then lists of other habitats either continentally or globally that are similar, like, name other similar dry shrublands with hot summers and cool wet winters, like, comparing chaparral in California to Wacky or Fynbos or other Mediterranean fire-dependent shrublands.
Pretty cool.
The books can kind of interact. Yeah. And then from there, it goes more into the first is just a description of the habitat mechanics and structure, what it's like moving around in there, and then typical plant assemblages, kind of like what you would find in the canopy or the understory or ground cover. Then the next section is a breakdown of wildlife, mostly kind of obvious wildlife. We didn't go too much into like small mammals or things that you're not that likely to see. So it's usually pretty bird focused, large, more obvious mammals, and then usually some reptiles and amphibians too, like some of the more common reptiles and amphibians. And then it ends with a section on conservation issues for the habitat, which is something we added this time that I'm pretty happy to have. Just sort of talking about what percentage of it's left, how much is protected, what major threats are going into the future. We worked with American Bird Conservancy and Nature Serve this time to kind of make a list that we would all be happy with and could kind of jointly use when talking about bird habitat conservation. So that was a cool aspect of it this time. And yeah, I think it was a fun project. It's like, I don't know, those long projects that you get to the end of and like you're gonna be really happy with it when it's done. But I'm at the phase right now where I'm ready to not look at it anymore. But you should all look at it. But I'm sick of this kid, like ready for him to move out of the house. And
Yeah. Are there any of the habitats that you haven't really visited yet that you'd like to spend some time in? I've never done like the Great Smokies, and I've always wanted to go there and do like the salamander, run. That was kind of what made me think of it.
Yeah, the salamander run's really cool. I've done a pretty good job of visiting most of pretty much everything covered in the book. For North America, there's a lot of stuff globally that I'd love to check out. I tend to like dry habitats, like especially seasonally dry forests. I really want to check out the dragon's blood forests on Socotra. That's I almost
that
made it
sounds like
there
a
couple years
fascinating place.
ago. Yeah,
You say you have been there?
I almost made it there. I was
Oh,
a
okay.
couple hours away, and then
Yeah, I don't know many people that have been out there.
yeah, I had a flight. I had everything booked, and got there, and the flight canceled for the next month. And
Yeah, that would be a
really
fascinating
bizarre.
place.
Yeah, alien looking landscape with these.
I think it's where most of the world's Wannies petrels breed out there as well.
Yeah, it's a really.
There's a golden winged grosbeak, I think, that's endemic there, right? I'm trying to remember. There's a whole host of endemic subspecies or forms there.
Yeah, I think there's about 15 endemic species out there of birds. Quite a few lizards, and then just like these plant communities that are really, really different from anything else.
I just had to look this up. This is in the Arabian Sea, sort of off of Somalia. Yeah.
Off the coast of Yemen and sort of between.
Kind of in between there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't look like an easy place to access.
Yeah. Several Oman trips where we would do pelagics and kind of dream about going a little further out there to Socotra. Does seem like a fascinating place.
Mm-hmm.
What drew you to Albuquerque, Phil? Was it? I mean, it's not quite as deserty as some other parts of the Southwest, but was that part of the allure there? And I guess what I find I find myself wanting to do like winter, late in the year trip out to visit you just to go check out some of these spots where you get kind of little vagrant traps. It seems like you turn up a lot of cool birds and some weird spots out there.
Yeah, it's a super diverse state. I mean, I think a lot of people don't go because it has other things that do right. Like Colorado does the Rocky Mountains better, and Southeast Arizona does the Madrean stuff better, and Texas does Texas better. But you kind of get little corners of everything there. I just ended up on somebody's couch at the beginning of COVID when all my work canceled, and never really left. Like they moved out, I took over the lease. Yeah, it's just not many people listen to this, right? Like I don't want to be telling people how much I like Albuquerque, but yeah, it's like just like a affordable, down to earth kind of feels like Cleveland in the desert sort of thing. It's big enough that I can get good Indian food, small enough that I don't have to sit in traffic. But yeah, no, it's really cool mix of habitats. Like in the same year, you can see nesting boreal owls, and then go down and see violet-crowned hummingbird, and then go out east and get mountain plovers and big flocks of wintering longspurs, and yeah, really cool migration traps.
I was just thinking that the size of, if you took this new measure, which I like, big enough to have get Indian food, how that would vary country to country. Like how huge a city you would need in Argentina to have Indian food versus how small a town village you might need in England to have Indian food. It's like an interesting measure.
Metric.
But when you said mix of habitats, that's what I was thinking.
It's a good one, big enough to have Indian food.
All right, I guess it can apply to some truck stops along I-40 too, which are, man, there's a couple of those buffets along those I-40 rest areas that are pretty excellent. It's a road trip I've always wanted to do. It's like the I-10, I-40, kind of like Indian food buffet corridor.
I see a new book here, actually, and it might even sell better than the Habitats book. Phil's guide to food while birding.
Yeah, exactly. Field fair.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are coming up on the hour here, Phil. I did want to let folks know that you are, in fact, headed to Brazil with Hillstar Nature next year. The Pantanal, right? So that people should take a look at that. And sooner than that, right? You've got a Colombia trip.
Yeah, white sands forests and cool Amazonian corner of Colombia. That's like, again, a pretty unique habitat, right? I mean, you kind of think of the Amazon as being this monolithic space, but there's a lot of really cool centers of endemism and microhabitats and really pretty interesting stuff on the edge of the Guianan Shield there.
Yeah, nice mix of influences on that trip. I think you guys will have a great time.
You're traveling by boat and that a lot too, right? That looks like a pretty cool transportation kind of trip.
It is. Yeah. It's like probably half your travel is in motorized canoes, and then there's about a fair amount is on foot. So it's quite different than your normal birding trip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to get out of a van, and I always like being on a river. I mean, the ocean's okay, but like rivers are.
That's another one where I would say it's a remote spot, but the town there, Inírida, is surprisingly large and growing, and the food's pretty good.
Any Indian food? No.
I don't recall there being any Indian food. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, some really great fresh fish and some great fresh fruit. Just a lot, like the fish is a big thing. A lot of people eat fish, but really good food there. So yeah, I think that is going to be a really great one, and the Pantanal as well. And then a little further down the line, you're heading back to Uganda as well. So folks should look for Phil there at Hillstar Nature, and look for your book, which can be pre-ordered now, right?
Yep, yeah, it can be pre-ordered now with Princeton University Press.
I'll drop those links in our show notes too.
All right, cool. Well,
Nice. Well, thanks so much for doing this, Phil. Thanks everybody for listening. And you guys have a great day.
Bye bye.
see ya.